Amy here with a little midday motivation. So today we are going to talk about perspective and how your perception is your reality. And sometimes, well, most of the time, things are not what they seem or what they appear to be. But a lot of times we let that perspective, that thing that we're thinking, we just let it grow in our minds. It has to be this way. This is the way it is. And we let that grow. And it the tree, the seed is planted, the tree grows, it gets limbs, it gets leaves, and you're just spiraling because this is how you think something is. And sometimes it's not that at all, right? And again, your perception is your reality. So I always like to play the game, right? Where it's unlikely, but it's possible that this could be going on. So here's a couple examples. So one time we're on the expressway and we're stuck in bumper to bumper traffic. And then all of a sudden we see like a car go flying by us on the shoulder of the road. And of course, my husband's like, oh my gosh, blah, 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 blah. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe the person in that car, maybe his wife is in labor and they need to, get in the shoulder of the road so they can get off at the exit, right? Unlikely, but it's possible. So I like to kind of make up these stories and I kind of step back and I try to just see things from a different perspective. I do this a lot during my day where somebody is perceiving a situation or saying something. I kind of step back and I think to myself, okay, why are they perceiving this situation this way? Why are they seeing it this way? Am I giving off a vibe or is something going on? And I totally get that their perception is their reality. So I get that people are going to perceive things the way that they're going to perceive it. But I like to kind of step back and kind of be more thoughtful and more intentional with my thinking. So it's not unlikely, right, that this person could be going through something. Here's another example. I texted one of my friends and I didn't hear back. And I was like, that's kind of weird. I was like, well, maybe I said something offensive or maybe they didn't like my text or they didn't like what I had to say. And I kind of reread it and I was like, oh, well, all right. Well, I don't know. And it was a couple of days. So then of course I got, annoyed and I was like, well, I guess they're not responding. So whatever I said, whatever, if they're going to be mad, that's fine. Well, come to find out that they were really sick and spent a day or two in the hospital. So then, of course, I felt awful, right? And that I hadn't checked in and that I thought all these things. And that was a really good wake up call because, again, things are never what they are. They're just when you think something is the way it is, it's not that way. And a lot of times we go to the negative and we spiral out of control with the negative and all the what ifs and we kind of live in that negative. And so I'm asking you to kind of rewire your brain and get in the positive and kind of, think about different perspectives and different point of views and take a step back. And, everybody says you have to walk a mile in someone else's shoes in order to understand their perspective. But I always like to say, well, you got to, in order to do that, yeah, that's true. But you got to take your own shoes off first, right? In order to put on another person's shoes to walk that mile, right? So you kind of have to take off your shoes and have an open mind. So I'm just asking you, be a little bit more open-minded, understand that your perception is your reality. And sometimes things, most of the time, are not how they appear or what they seem to be. And try to take a little bit of a more positive spin on that. Okay? It's all about perspective and it's all about how we perceive things. And unfortunately, when we perceive things, most of us perceive things in the negative. And then our minds, like I said, it just grows and it's all we think about, right? Because where you're focused, what you're focused on, that's where all your energy goes. Okay, so you got to think about that, and you don't want that negative energy. We're trying to get away from that negative energy. So you want to be more positive. So again, these stories that I make up in my head, they're unlikely, but you never know. It could be possible. So think about that. Change your perspective. Change your world. I do believe that. And so that's our little midday motivation today. Try to see things from other people's perspectives, right? It will open up your world and your mind, and you will have better relationships, I think, more quality relationships. All right, I'll see you tomorrow for a little bit more of midday motivation.